So now I'm going to show you how to program one of the SRF devices. Now there's two things I need. One is this little box here, which is the Explorer box, which I've wired through to a breadboard just so that the breadboard's a little bit easier to plug some wires into. And then the breadboard, I go into this little carrier which I've put together, which is simply made from a bit of Veriboard with some wire, some stiff wire soldered onto it. And the SRF, which we have here, simply fits into the carrier as so. So just the tension that we have on the wires there just hold the device in place. These two outer wires are just there to stabilize the SRF, to keep it in place. I'm only using 4 pins, 2 for power and for ground and power, and the other 2 are used for transmit and receive, so I can send data to and from the device. That's the setup there, and then I need a bit of software, and the software is the XRF Configuration Manager from Ciseco. So once I've put my SRF in place, then I can plug in through USB onto my computer. With my computer software, I can just check that I have a connection. So I've already got my COM port connected. I click on download config, and if you look onto the Explorer box, you'll see the LEDs will start to flash on the Explorer box to download the config, and I can confirm that what is out of the box in terms of the version configuration for the firmware is 0.89b, and that's what comes with the device. Also note that the baud rate has set to 9600 as default out of the box. So what I'm going to do now is select a firmware to upload, which is going to be this one here. I'm going to send the file to the device using program. And when I do that, you notice on the Explorer box that the LEDs start flashing, and we start getting some progress as we upload that firmware. What I'll do here is I'm going to fast forward the video just to save you some time of watching a green bar move across the screen. So here we are coming to the end of the write process. As the green bar gets to the end, the LEDs will stop, and the bottom left hand side of the screen we see a success in writing, as we have here. Now the next thing we should do is verify that the write was successful. So we're going to do a verify. That's going to verify that what is in memory on the device matches the original file on my computer. So again, I shall save you the boredom. I'll fast forward to the end of this step. And once again, we're coming to the end of the verification process. LEDs will stop flashing, and we see a success verifying. Once we get that success message, we can commit that change to memory. So that writes it back to the EEPROM, so that next time that the device starts, it will use that particular image. So you can see at the bottom that it says it's been committed and restarted. So to verify that, what we can do is go to the General tab, and it shows the XRF version that we had previously. What I'm going to do here is download the config to get the config from the current memory. Now the device just started, it's used what's in EEPROM, it's using that in current memory. So I download that config from current memory, and the XRF version should update on the screen. Now sometimes I've noticed that it doesn't. Sometimes it just says OK, which we've had here, and it says no valid response received. So I'm just going to click on download that config once more. Now it's read from memory, and you can see that I've now got the one button personality onto the SRF device. Now that's essentially it. I've programmed the SRF. I do one step further. I change the baud rate. I set all of my devices to the same one, which is 115/200, and I don't seem to get any interference. I don't get any loss in signal or loss of messages. What I will do over time, I'll keep monitoring, and if I do find that I'm dropping transmission, then I'm going to reduce the baud rate. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to change the baud rate. So initially I've downloaded the config. I make the one change to the baud rate, and I'm going to upload the config, and I'm going to set those settings into current memory. So I click the button, I get some flashing lights on my LEDs there for my Explorer. Oh, I got no response. I'm just going to upload the config again. That's success. And what you're looking for is that you don't get this error message on the bottom left. If you didn't get a valid response, you're going to go back and check with that. Once you've written it to memory, we're going to use that setting. So we're going to apply the changes. And when we apply changes, the baud rate, you notice here, will change to match. Config applied, and it's changed. Now that's just using it from current memory. It hasn't written it this time to EEPROM. So we want to do that. We're going to write the config to EEPROM. Config saved. There we go. Now just to validate that, I'm going to go to my serial monitor, and I can set this into command mode. So I send the code of 4 of the 3 plus symbols, and I send that, and I should get an OK as a response from the device. There we go. And that's now in command mode. So that's it. I've done all my configuration I need for this device. If I want to do another device, very simple. I firstly take and remove power from my Explorer box, unplug my SRF, take the next device, and plug in my next SRF as so into my carrier, power back up with my Explorer box, and I'm going to download the current config. Important, remember, set that value back to 9600 and then download your config, otherwise you won't get a response. Downloads a config, and you can see here that the XRF version 0.89b, so I can go back to my upload firmware and program, and off we go in the next cycle. So I found that this is the fastest way that I can configure lots of out-of-the-factory SRF devices ready to put into my small battery boxes and to turn into sensors for my doors and windows around my house.